Hello, and welcome to another episode of the More Minute. Today, I'm excited to talk about how to enrich enterprise AI applications with the benefit of adding more enterprise data, why that hasn't happened, and the specific technology that can help enterprises on their AI journey and doing so in a way that's really customized to their specific enterprise needs. And so to orient us, I've walked through several of these use cases and other videos. And today we'll really focus on this first one around building Gen AI applications with enterprise data. This is about collecting, curating, and preparing data, getting it ready for AI applications, leveraging Spark, Milvus, and other vector databases, along with WatsonX.ai. And so when we think about AI and specifically Gen AI, it's really these building blocks that all enterprises can leverage in so many different ways, from agents to assistants to agentic assistants, different models, how they can leverage, but not only those models, but also specifically the data and the governance and what data is training these models. And that really speaks to the quality of the use case itself. Because if the data really isn't there, then how strong can the use case be? And that directly impacts the customers who are using these Gen AI agents. Today, less than 1% of enterprise data is currently being leveraged on Gen AI. I don't think that many people know that. So when we think about all of the Gen AI that we're engaging with, even be it with specific enterprises, the majority of that data is not really leveraged from that specific enterprise, either trained on different models that are pointing towards just general open information that's on the internet. And that's very different. I think what AI will look like in 10, 15 years, Gen AI, if it's even called that, will look like when it's really infused with customer specific language, their specific ways of handling situations, their own specific brand personalities. All of that can really be enriched with enterprise data, which today we don't have. And these are just some stats to let you know that less than 1/3 of tech leaders believe that the enterprise data, it can meet the accessibility, the quality, and the security standard to put into Gen AI. So obviously that information, that data, that enterprise data is there, but when we're lacking accessibility of that data because maybe it's in 7 different lake houses and they all have multiple different forms of governance, maybe the quality isn't there, and there are huge security risks, especially around those in financial services and other highly regulated industries, as well as just the general complexity of data. When you think about data that fits nicely and neatly into structured database relational systems, and you can go back to my database fruit salad video where I kind of walk through that, those are specifically easier to deal with than these unstructured, non-relational, not only SQL databases and ways that data is stored and sometimes not really stored efficiently in enterprises. And that is what's growing at 300% the rate of the traditional structured databases. And that really makes sense when we think about our world of videos like the one you're watching now, social media, podcasts, these type of things that are only on the rise, and yet they don't fit nicely and neatly into the traditional SQL structured database ways of managing data. And this is really where WatsonX.data, this open data lakehouse, comes in, and really leveraging the hybrid nature of this being both on-prem or on the cloud. And really that can depend on the specific different workloads and specific data for specific use cases. Being able to have this flexibility is truly what sets WatsonX.data apart. So you have the flexibility within the infrastructure level, wherever that data resides on any cloud. You can even bring on-prem applications like Netezza. Maybe you're running DB2 on mainframe, different storage options. So Google S3, Azure, lots of different places where the storage can live, and specifically object storage from a cost efficiency standpoint, as well as multiple different data formats. IBM is really standardized around Iceberg, but we also support lots of different formats like Hive Thrift and Unity if you've invested in Delta Lake, as well as the metadata layer to really govern that and keep track of all the different data sources. And what's unique is that we support multiple different query engines. So Presto comes out of the box, but there's also Spark. There's also Netezza, which you can use as both a external data store that you can connect to, but also as a query engine when it makes sense, and a plethora of other different query engines. All of that comes together to address the challenges that enterprise have in being able to, one, just have visibility into the sprawling data estate for major enterprises, as well as how to have governance around that, security controls around that as well. And so watsonx.data really allows you to do this both hybrid, multi-cloud with no vendor lock-in. As I mentioned, lots of different vendors, all of the major vendors are supported here, as well as with the security, governance, and price performance, specifically leveraging things like object storage as opposed to block storage for cost efficiency. I want to take you briefly now into really a hands-on use case. You can see here we're in the infrastructure view. We're going to engines. We have all these different engines to choose from. We can choose what query engine we want for each specific job. Then we have the different catalogs of metadata, that governance layer that I showed earlier, and then the storage. So this could be Hive, this could be DB2, this could be Iceberg, wherever your data storage lives. And you can also see this all in a list view as well, if that's easier. Then you can go in and really add components. You can see multiple different query engines are able to be selected here, and there are even more than what's shown here, like Snowflake, Redshift, etc. And then you can see the different storage options here, which is an extensive list, as you'll see if you scroll down. In this case, we selected the IBM Cloud Object Store, which you can connect up to this hybrid open data lakehouse, as well as you have all of these different storage options as well. The list is long and it's growing day by day. And you can see within that brief demo, you're able to see a wide variety of different storage options that are available, different query options that are available, different catalog metadata storage that's available. And all of this helps enterprises have more visibility into the data, make the data more accessible, have governance around that data, specifically for different roles who should be able to access certain information and not other information. And all of this helps enterprises as they prepare for AI-ready data. And it's pretty difficult to ingest data into these AI models if you have no idea where it is, if there's no sort of governance around that, if it takes an extreme effort to pull data from a mainframe or from Netezza or from a different vendor. Being able to do this really succinctly in a hybrid way is what will power the next generation of enterprise Gen AI that will help enterprises better serve and meet client demand.